There was a time when the world had never known rain, a time when water did not fall from the sky, when clouds were familiar, harmless, unthreatening, when the heavens did not inspire fear, only routine. The earth produced effortlessly. Soil yielded its fruit without resistance. Rivers followed their courses faithfully. Nothing overflowed, nothing collapsed. Days followed one another with precision. Morning always arrived. Night always returned. Time felt endless. People were born into a world that felt permanent. They lived surrounded by continuity. And when they eventually died, death felt like an interruption, not an expectation. No one imagined that everything could end. There was no collective memory of disaster, no inherited story of collapse, no ancestral warning passed down through generations, no myth of total destruction. The idea of an ending did not exist because nothing in human experience suggested it ever would. And yet, beneath the surface of stability, something was profoundly wrong. The world before the flood was not empty. It was not chaotic. It was not primitive. It was ancient, and advanced in ways later civilizations would never fully recover. According to the biblical record, human life extended far beyond what we now consider possible. People lived for centuries, not symbolically, not metaphorically, but literally. This longevity reshaped everything. Generations did not replace one another. They accumulated. 5, 6, even 7 generations could coexist. Children grew up under the direct influence of ancestors who had witnessed the earliest days of civilization. Memory was not fragile. Knowledge was not easily lost. Experience did not vanish with a single death. Ideas were refined across centuries. Skills were perfected over lifetimes. Mistakes were repeated long enough to become traditions. The world did not rush. It did not need to. Cities emerged slowly but deliberately, not as desperate shelters, but as intentional centers of permanence. Stone replaced wood. Foundations were deep. Structures were built to last generations, not decades. Homes were not temporary. They were inherited, expanded, improved, passed down. Architecture reflected confidence. Walls were thick. Courtyards were open. Streets were planned. This was not survival. This was civilization. Technology followed the same pattern. Metal was understood. Tools were refined. Craftsmanship improved over centuries of uninterrupted practice. Gold was abundant. Not rare, not sacred, simply present. It was used in tools, vessels, ornaments, woven naturally into daily life, not as excess, but as normality. Music developed structure. Instruments were refined. Sound was organized. Culture was preserved. Agriculture was systematic. Fields were measured. Harvests were planned years in advance. Food security was assumed. Humanity was not fighting nature. It believed it had mastered it. Living for hundreds of years changes how time is perceived. Urgency disappears. Pressure fades. Warnings feel abstract. When death seems distant, accountability weakens. Tomorrow always exists. Next year always comes. Consequences can be postponed. Choices feel reversible. Mistakes feel manageable. Nothing feels final. From a human perspective, the world appeared stable. But stability is not righteousness. As civilization advanced, something essential began to erode. The biblical text does not describe ignorance. It describes separation. God did not vanish from the world. Humanity simply learned to live without him. Independence replaced dependence. Confidence replaced humility. Self-sufficiency replaced reverence. Violence did not arrive suddenly. It crept in gradually, normalized, justified, accepted. Corruption did not shock. It blended in. It became functional. It became cultural. Evil was no longer an anomaly. It was a system. This was not a single rebellion. It was a civilization shaped by long-term autonomy. The earth was full of people, but empty of reverence. Full of structures, but empty of justice. Full of sound, invention, ambition, and movement, yet spiritually silent. Life continued uninterrupted. Markets opened, workshops functioned, Music played, children were born, projects expanded, cities grew, knowledge accumulated, and still the foundation was failing, not visibly, not immediately, but decisively. In the midst of this world, a dissonant figure appears. Noah, not a king, not a general, not a revolutionary. He did not command armies. He did not gather followers. He did not reshape politics. He lived quietly, faithfully, differently. The biblical record describes him as righteous in a generation that had redefined corruption as normal. While the world built for comfort, Noah built for obedience. An ark, on dry land, not near water, not in preparation for seasonal flooding, but in open ground. There was no precedent, no historical reference, no scientific model, only instruction. The ark was not merely a structure, it was a contradiction. Every beam challenged normality. Every measurement defied common sense. Each strike of the hammer was a silent warning. Each day of construction was an invitation to reconsider. Time passed. Years passed. The ark rose slowly, visibly, inescapably. People saw it, passed by it, spoke of it. Some questioned, many mocked, most ignored. Not because the message was unclear, but because the implication was unacceptable. To imagine judgment required imagining that the present world was wrong. Normality became the strongest defense against truth. According to the biblical account, there came a moment when patience ended. Not because God was impulsive, but because corruption had reached completion. The world still functioned, still produced, still expanded. But spiritually, it was hollow. Judgment did not arrive as a spectacle. It arrived as a consequence. When the waters came, they did not come gently. Rain fell from the sky, something the world had never experienced. Water erupted from the ground, as if the earth itself gave way. What had always been solid proved fragile. What had seemed eternal revealed itself temporary. Cities vanished. Strength failed. Speed failed. Wealth failed. Technology could not save. Culture could not preserve. Longevity could not escape. The flood was not merely destruction. It was erasure. An entire age ended. After the waters rose, movement ceased. Silence replaced noise. Stillness replaced activity. Cities disappeared. Lineages ended. Projects remained unfinished forever. The earth was renewed, but at the cost of everything that came before. For centuries, the world before the flood was dismissed as myth, too advanced, too dramatic, too uncomfortable. And yet, the question remains. What happens when a civilization believes it will never be held accountable? When progress replaces humility? When stability replaces truth? When silence is mistaken for approval? The world before the flood fell not because it lacked warning, but because it trusted itself too deeply. And echoes have a way of traveling through time.